Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Mike DeHaan and Dan Austin. From wins, losses, horror stories, and tactics for optimizing your business, Mike and Dan take a real, uncensored deep dive into the ins and outs of running a full-time real estate investment and wholesaling business.
What's going on, guys? On this episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast, we have Paul Wakim coming in from Bend, Oregon, living the digital nomad life. So he's been an investor in the past, and I'm guessing your motivation behind the platform that you built stems from some sort of frustrations in the past. But he's building a really cool program right now called TwnSqr, where we played around with it a little bit before the show, but it sounds like you're trying to solve the problem with disposition and finding buyers, mostly for wholesale deals, or is it for deals that are on the market as well? A whole bunch of different things, but either way, trying to bring tech to real estate, which is always challenging in our kind of antiquated business. So, Paul, appreciate you having us. We'd love to hear your backstory and kind of what you're working on with this platform you're trying to build.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Dan. Admittedly, I had listened to your guys' show back whenever it first came out, I think, but then I recently got caught up. Like I mentioned before we got on the recording here, I've been out of the full-on investment game for the last 2 years or so as I've been trying to build this tech startup in the real estate investing world. But I think that maybe a year and a half or so ago, I was listening to your guys' show and stumbled upon you from my podcast app before everything went to Spotify. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I know you guys do some serious business. And I mean, as we talk here, I'd love to know what you guys think about our platform and what you think about what we're trying to do in this part of the industry. But before we get into all of that, my name is Paul Wakim. I'm the co-founder and CEO of TwnSqr. I got my start in real estate investing in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania market after starting what has become one of the largest real estate photography companies on the East Coast. So I was the primary photographer for that business, met all of the top real estate agents and all the top real estate investors in that small to medium-sized Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania market. And it dawned on me as I was becoming more interested in real estate investing and real estate agent, that whole life of trying to find deals, that there's no real estate without a real estate investor. So like you, Mike, I taught myself how to code, or there's no real estate without a seller. Sorry. I taught myself how to code, went out and gathered a bunch of data and tried to build a very, very rudimentary algorithm to predict who was going to sell their house next. And long story short, I met my co-founder in 2019, and we improved upon that algorithm and got it to be 95% accurate a month before COVID hit, and all of the data went to hell. Right. So we've pivoted quite a few times since the middle of 2019, but where we're at is a dispositions platform. You hit the nail on the head. TwnSqr is a dispositions platform for off-market properties based around a marketplace.
Cool. I like it. So I guess when you were building that algorithm, trying to figure out the way for people that were going to potentially sell their property, I guess, what did that look like? Was that using public data? Is that looking at sales patterns in different neighborhoods and sort of trying to project it that way? Are you looking more at individuals? I guess, what was that specific algorithm based on?
Yeah, so it was based on publicly available data and data that was on trends, like what was selling in the neighborhood and for what price, what the ARV and what the AVM's automated valuation model, really just based on a bunch of data that we were scraping and then running our own programs on top of. And we were really lucky that CMU, Carnegie Mellon University, is based in Pittsburgh. So all of the data from the county was structured and labeled and perfect because CMU at the time was in a contract with the county to structure all of this real estate assessments data and all of the data that we were using. So we had a team of professional undergrads working with us that they didn't have any idea they were working on this algorithm with us, because they were structuring and doing all the hard work with the data. And it made it really accessible for us to use and make predictions on. But when it really came down to it, the things that we found are pretty obvious why people sell. It's things like credit card debt going into foreclosure, violations that the city is marking, a death in the family, a divorce. Those kinds of things were really like the big telltale signs that were heavily weighted in the data as we were making those predictions. But then, like I said, COVID hit, and in Pennsylvania, the governor shut down all of real estate for 4.5 months. Like, you couldn't do a closing, you couldn't go to a showing. So everybody that we predicted was going to sell wasn't selling. And then whenever all those restrictions were lifted, everybody that we thought wasn't going to sell ended up selling. So that was our first pivot in the middle to end of 2020.
Fascinating.
What you just described is the off-market world to a T. You know, everything that you think will happen is the opposite of what will actually happen, and you never know what's going to happen next. You know,
I think there's a lot of opportunity because of that. You know, I think that like, the fact that it's so unknown, that we're not in this structured world of the National Association of Realtors applying these strict guidelines like they do to on-market things. Like, I'm not ragging on the National Association of Realtors and what happens on market, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity in the off-market world to develop softwares like TwnSqr and make a lot of money with investing, because there's a lack of congruency.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that things that gets lost amongst so many people as well. And, you know, so many people have tried to build these different platforms for finding off-market leads, for, you know, talking to sellers, for all this sort of stuff, but you can't get past the people element. You know, like we have a friend of ours that is in GoBundance with us. GoBundance is like this millionaire mastermind that, you know, a lot of real estate guys are in. And he's a young guy. He's super smart, but he's trying to build this basically texting platform that is supposed to have conversations with motivated sellers to get them to sell their property at a discount. So like basically AI, you know, sales / lead conversion, right?
Like a bot.
But the thing, like a bot. But the thing is, you know, most motivated sellers, especially these days where everyone has so much equity, it's not like you're buying it from some family. You're buying it from some person that, you know, is wearing a tinfoil hat, it's in their basement, that hasn't paid their medical bills because they don't want to touch the credit card and get like some sort of laced poison from it, you know? So like asinine stuff, and you can't overcome that. Like no matter how hard you try, technology will never be able to conquer that problem.
Well, and it's not just to real estate. I mean, when you're selling, salesmanship is like a skill. So there's the real estate, we all know, is it's a people business. That's how you get deals. That's how you attract buyers. That's how you find sellers. It's people, and it's seeking it out. And so your technology has to account for that. And when Mike and I review other tech platforms, because we're always looking for different things, like the one big element, whether it's a lead gen system or a dispo platform, the one big element like that I look for is like how like I would try to reverse engineer it and say, where's the benefit? If all the benefit is going to the person with the platform, there's no point in using the platform, because it's a one-way street. It's like, we're just going to try to scrape as much money from you as we can, and then we're going to have like a 30, 60, 90-day attrition rate. We don't care. And there's enough people out there right now. We're just going to keep churning. That's not a long-term business model, and there's no value in it for me.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have so much to say on the like human connection side, but Mike, you struck a nerve with saying it's the guy in the basement with the tinfoil hat. One of my very first deals, was a deal like that, where my first version of the algorithm predicted that a house needs to be sold down the street from where I was living at the time. And it was this like rundown piece of crap house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Nobody had lived in it for such a long period of time. We had to get in touch with the like family members, finally got into the place. There were like 4 feet of sewage in the basement. And the guy that lived there by himself, without power, without water, without anything, for like 10 years. And like, it's a people business. If you don't know how to handle those kind of situations, it's not like I'm going to send a letter to that guy and he's going to call me. It's like, I need to get in touch with the family. I need to handhold everybody through the situation. I need to handle all the legalities of it. I need to get the $180,000 worth of medical debt scrubbed off the title. Like, all of that needs to happen, and you can't do it unless it's a relationship that you build and curate over what took me 2 years to buy that house. But I bought it for $1 and I ended up selling it for 86,000. So it worked out in the end.
Yeah. Awesome. Did you actually buy it for $1?
I actually bought it for $1.
Man, I hope you at least gave him like a Snickers bar or something to, make him feel good about that.
$1.
Yeah, the situation was, unfortunately, the individual that owned the house, he had passed away. And his family member who was working with me, she had covered the funeral cost, and it was like a whole big thing in their family. And I said, listen, if you work with me on this, tell me what your costs were to, get this arrangement done and off your plate, off your family's plate. Mm-hmm. And she said $5,000. So whenever we sold the place, I bought it for $1, but then I paid this family member to work with me so that her her total in the hole was 0 rather than 5,000. So it was an interesting deal. It still made quite a bit of money.
That's really cool. Awesome. That's a huge deal. And at the core, you solve the problem, which is what we always say, to people that ask us about wholesale off-market real estate. We teach this very heavily in our instant investor program, is no matter what you think about the house or, kind of real estate in whole or the investment, at the end of the day, if you want to be an off-market investor and you want to create real money and opportunity, you have to solve people's problems. And that's exactly what you did there, which is why you're able to get this house for $1, right? Which is truly unbelievable.
Yep.
So,
awesome. It worked out really well. And then Dan, you were saying about like the connections between people and making sure that like there's actually a two-way street where you're providing value to somebody on one of these technology platforms and then they're providing value back to you. At the core of my real estate experience, my real estate business and investing is the connections and the partnerships that I've formed with people that are more experienced than me. Like I did a pretty nice townhome development with a 60-something-year-old guy that I partnered with, and I couldn't have done it if I didn't partner with somebody more knowledgeable. So as we've been building TwnSqr, it's really a marketplace, but it has a bunch of tools on top that help investors do business more efficiently. And one of the primary tools is forming a connection between you and another investor to do business more efficiently. So yeah, I totally agree. So much of it is relationship. As much of a wild, wild west this world of off-market real estate is, it's so much of it's about making connections.
Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, we always talk about, not we, but like in general in the real estate industry is, you've got to have something, whether it's money, you got to have hustle, or you got to have like an opportunity or a deal. And it reminds me of like back when I was in the military in Ranger School, you get your MRE, your meal ready to eat, and you get like one a day. And you might get something in there that you don't want, or you might need something else to make a really good meal. So you might say, you would sit there and you'd hold it up. You say, hey, I have peanut butter. I want cheese. And someone says, hey, I have cheese. I want peanut butter. It's a match made in heaven, right? Because now your crackers, you can have cheese and crackers instead of peanut butter and crackers, right? But that's when you're talking about community and when you're talking about building those connections, you're trying to connect the guy with the cheese that wants the peanut butter to the opposite need. And that's where true relationships and true like actual networking that can benefit you to grow your business or whatever, put a deal together that wouldn't have otherwise happened.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was listening to your recent episode you guys did with the power of joint ventures and the partnerships. And totally. so much to say there as it relates to TwnSqr, but as it relates to my real estate investing experience, I've only ever really done partnerships and joint ventures. And my value was always, I have technology or I have the sweat. And somebody else had the cheese that was the experience, and it all came together really nicely.
There you go. Perfect. Awesome. Well, that's a great transition. I'd love to start diving into TwnSqr, kind of what it is and what exactly your ultimate vision is with it. Because, people have tried these disposition platforms before. Most recently, what's the one that we looked at? Investor Lift.
Yep.
And I'm going to just flat out say this. Investor Lift fucking sucks. Like, it's ridiculous in the way that, like, I understand the premise behind it, but I know it's a cash grab. They make you pay $6,000 up front to get full access to the platform. And basically what it gives you is a glorified mail list that sends the ugliest emails out to everybody, doesn't discriminate by, who's on the list at all. And I get so many of them now, they just go to my spam. So anyone who's thinking about signing up for Investor Lift, don't freaking do it. You're wasting your money because no one's going to see your goddamn emails anyway. Like, go and make connections with people, which is what it sounds like TwnSqr is at the core of it. So first off, if yours is just like Investor Lift, your app
totally
it's
sorry.
not good. I'm not good. Yeah.
End of the call now.
But,
end
of the call. Yeah. But I guess more importantly, like, what is the base behind it? It sounds like about relationships, and how can people start to benefit from it in the future, and your thesis behind the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory about how we got to where we are today with TwnSqr. So like I said, my entire real estate investing career has been based around partnerships with more experienced people. Like I said, I did that new ground up development. I hired really good attorneys that walked me through the process of buying that house for $1. Whenever I taught myself how to code, I hired a coach from Upwork to teach me how to code and partner with me on the first thing that I created. And really what we've tried to create at TwnSqr is a way for, I don't want to say inexperienced, but less capable or investors with less assets under their belt to connect with other investors that have had more experience or have buyers that they have really good relationships with, and connect in a meaningful way rather than just saying, hey, I'm joining this platform, I'm paying a bunch of money, and I get access to all of your buyers because you did the same thing. We saw what Investor Lift was doing, and at first I thought they were doing the same thing that we were doing, and we were like, oh crap, they're a year ahead of us. But then we realized that they weren't doing what we're doing, and it was a little bit of a light bulb moment and like a sigh of relief, but then also like let's go get it kind of moment, because I do think that we're approaching this concept of sharing buyers and connecting with other investors in the right way. So it's taken us about 3 years to get here, since the middle of 2019, whenever my co-founder quit his job and we created that algorithm. We've gone through a bunch of different iterations to get to where we are today, but at the end of 2020, what we created was a marketplace. At first, it was a retail real estate marketplace. And since then, that marketplace has morphed many times into what you see today on TwnSqr. So TwnSqr, at its core, it is a marketplace. I like to say it's a marketplace with tools built on top of it for real estate investors to form connections and run their businesses more efficiently. Specifically, when it comes to how we compare to Investor Lift and how we do dispositions, a user can come to TwnSqr and they can post their property on the marketplace and hope that somebody comes to them, a buyer comes to them and submits an offer and tries to buy the property. They can also upload their buyers list to TwnSqr and send emails from our platform to their buyers. Now, as I say that, you might be thinking, hey, that's the exact same thing that Investor Lift is doing. To the contrary, nobody has access to your buyers on TwnSqr unless you allow them to have access. So what does that mean? The third thing you can do on TwnSqr is you can go to other users who have identified their buyers as being interested in properties of a certain type in a certain area, and say to that user, not to that user's buyers, but say to that user, hey, Mike, Dan, I have a deal in Spokane. It's 3-bed, 2-bath, built in 1979. I'm asking, or I have it under contract for $400,000. I'm going to ask $425 for it, or whatever it is. And you guys say to me, okay, Paul, let me see who you are. Let me see your contracts. Let me see the pictures of the deal. Show me everything you can. And then maybe I'll send it to my buyers on your behalf. Let's say everything checks out. You guys do send it to your buyers on my behalf as it's your own deal, as if it's your own deal. Yeah. So your buyers receive it from you with your name on it. And I get to leverage, just like in my past experience as a real estate investor, I get to leverage your experience and your relationships that you've built with your buyers to benefit both of us, because you get to JV with me on that deal. So I bring you the deal and you guys get to JV, do a joint venture with me, because you bring the buyer to my deal. Right. So that's at its core, that's how TwnSqr works.
Okay.
Nice. And when you do that joint venture, does TwnSqr provide kind of that handshake agreement too. Like, hey, once this gets sent here, is like, do you guys provide the documentation for a joint venture, or have something within the user agreement somehow to kind of, make people feel comfortable with that?
No. So
Okay.
we actually don't do that on purpose, mainly
Okay.
because I don't want to get involved in the contracts. I don't want to get involved in the legalities between users and the
Sure.
agreements that you guys form. So we'll go down the path of that example where I have a deal in Spokane and I bring it to you guys. If I bring my deal to you and one of your buyers comes back and says, hey guys, I'm interested in this deal, they have no idea that it's really my deal, but they think it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, you guys get notified that John Smith, the buyer, has submitted an offer for $430,000 or whatever it is. I, on my side, just see that Mike and Dan have brought a buyer to the table. I can't see the buyer's first name, last name, phone number, email address, anything. You guys have all that information. I don't as the seller. So you guys can release that to me if you want, but only after you sign a JV agreement. Again, if you want, you guys get to keep your buyers under wraps the entire time.
Gotcha.
Interesting. So yeah, you kind of took that question right out of my mouth too, Dan, because I was thinking, what I always think with this sort of stuff, especially because, we've done so many transactions. We have a lot of people that, come out and want to do JV things. We've done a lot of JVs ourselves, but the security of the deal, I always think of very heavily. So like, let's say that, we find a deal in, I don't know, Madison, Wisconsin. We don't do business there, but we somehow find a deal there. We go on to TwnSqr and we find a potential JV partner there who just happens to be named Scumbag Steve. I don't know why. I just look past that. It's a great, IM name. It's hilarious. That's fine. But anyway, Scumbag Steve goes and sees the property and he goes, oh, this person's actually in my CRM already. This is what they have it for. I'm going to go into the back end and try and, affect this deal. So if there's no like legal handshake that takes place, if there's no, like financial exchange or anything like that, no smart contracts, is there any sort of checks and balances to prevent that from happening? Or is that just something, and this is fine if this is the case, it just admittedly comes to the territory, because right now in something that's all handshakes and, cowboy real estate anyway, that's just what it is. But I'm just not sure if you have any security for something like that.
Yeah, so our assumption is that if you have a property under contract, then you have the first right of refusal to do anything with that property. So somebody could go to the seller and they could try to go back on the contract. But my impression from wholesale deals is that usually the wholesaler who takes their business super seriously, records something with the county or has first right of refusal or has some serious money, some skin in the game to make sure that that can't happen. Of course, that it could happen if the seller comes back to you, but we don't get involved in the protection in that way. But you bring up a good point, Mike, and I'd love to talk to you guys either online or offline about how we might be able to work through that, because we've given this quite a bit of thought on how to protect our users and their assets, being their buyers and their deals.
Yeah, I think that's super key for everybody, and I think and maybe it's a community thing. Like you do that once, you're not going to be in the you're on blast, right? Or maybe there's something in your guys' user agreement that has to do with like community rules, and that's where you're going to get kicked off the platform. It's like you did it once, but was that once worth losing the community?
Yeah. And I think that's an easy fix for potentially too, even having like reviews, like you can like do peer reviews for people you've done deals with and things like that, because, the legalities of placing, clouding title or putting things on title when you're doing a transaction varies state to state. So for example, in Washington state, we actually can't do that unless we have a good reason to do so. And that's the thing that kind of sucks is that generally we can have a contract, we can be in escrow, but there's not really a whole lot that we can do to force a seller to sell to us. Like we literally had a deal about this time last year, actually. Our seller got abducted from closing by another investor. Like he was signing with a mobile notary in his shitty mobile home. And this other investor rolls up in a truck, drags the seller out of the house, throws him in the truck and drives away. And then closes with a different, closing attorney like 2 weeks later, and I called, I tried to figure out how we could block it, how we could do anything. And everyone was like, nope, sorry, Washington, you can't do anything here. But like, it gets, that's sort of the nature of the business though. Right.
Wild. Yeah. I'm not sure the platform could control for abduction via pickup truck, but I hear you loud and clear. And to your point, Dan, about the reviews and profiles and all of that stuff, as I think about the roadmap that our developers are working on in the next short period of time, I'll leave it at that. We are going to have reviews and profiles just as you're describing. So the second you share a deal with somebody, you're able to leave a review on them. Again, building that community where if you guys abduct my buyer in your pickup truck, I can leave the review that says, do not work with these guys. They're going to abduct your buyer or abduct your seller.
Yeah. There you go. No, that's good.
But it's coming. We launched this in the middle of July of this year, so it's been out for a little over three months. We have a little less than 800 users on the platform. It's grown pretty quickly, thankfully, and we've heard a lot of feedback from the MVP, the minimum viable product that we've put out, and that's the primary thing that people are asking for. That isn't like hardcore tech. It's like, how do we build the community? And it is under this umbrella of trust that we're trying to build. How do you trust the deal that's being sent to you? How do you trust the user that's sending you that deal and the contracts and everything that's connected to it? So it's coming, and it's going to happen fast. We're excited for that trust stuff to hit the platform.
Awesome. So with that 800 people, is that all wholesalers and people that are looking to sell deals? So I guess the question being is, if there was somebody who wanted to buy investment opportunities, didn't necessarily want to JV or, bring deals to the table, but literally just wanted to be on like a general buyer's list, is that something they can do with TwnSqr?
So in order for somebody to see all of the deals that are available, I'm sorry, I should put it this way. In order for somebody to see a deal that isn't sent directly to them, they have to sign up and pay for the platform. And I'll explain why that is. But if you just want to join the platform as a buyer and have the deals that are sent to you organized in a really simple way, sign contracts on the platform, we have all that functionality, chat with the sellers that are bringing deals to you. You can do all of that for free as a buyer. Buyers also don't even have to have an account to submit an offer. So if you guys used TwnSqr, you sent out your deal to your buyer can receive the deal from you, click on the link, and then just click the little contact seller button to submit an offer to you without even having an account. But if they want an account to keep track of all the deals that you've sent to them and all the times they've clicked contact seller, then they can do that real quick and easy with a free account. Now, if you're a buyer that wants to see all of the deals in a specific area, wants to see all of the deals that aren't just being sent to you, then you have to sign up for a paid membership. And we do that because if I have a deal that I bring to you guys and it's in Spokane again, and I say, hey, can you JV on it? And your buyer gets that message from you guys, checks out TwnSqr, and then for free, they could see all of the other deals that I've posted or all of the other deals that are in Spokane. Well, then now that buyer can hop off of your buyer's list with no consequence and buy those deals directly from me in the future, rather than you guys owning that buyer and being able to monetize it through JVs.
Interesting.
So we put up that $150 a month barrier that in order for you to see all of the deals on TwnSqr, other than the ones that are sent directly to you, you have to pay for a $149 a month account.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's inherently the challenge with off-market real estate, is being on a buyer's list comes with a cost, right? And the cost is that you don't get access to the deal firsthand from the seller because you didn't pay to market to that person. You didn't pay with time and effort, maybe 2 years to get a deal under contract. And so that seems to be kind of that is the cost of doing business, I guess.
Yeah. It's the cost of a good deal is how I've heard it said before. If you want good deals, then you can go out and find them yourself, but you got to put 2+ years worth of work into it sometimes
and build a system and a process.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And so a lot of amateurs especially never understand that, but go for it. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that what I'm hearing as you talk, and maybe this is intentional or unintentional, is that the real value continues to be the network of people you hold, i.e. your buyer's list, or who you can connect to that have deals that you can connect to your buyer's list. And the platform TwnSqr provides another layer for an investor to create community, to create connections, and just to expand their network.
Yeah, exactly. But with the caveat of, or with the improvement of, in the right way. You're expanding your network of buyers without spamming them among 100 other people with really crappy deals. Your buyers, again, if we use that example where I bring a deal to you guys, your buyers are your buyers and buy deals from you because they trust you. And they trust you to vet that my deal's not a piece of garbage and just going to end up in their mailbox. So, yeah, it's meant so that you can have a high quality connection with your buyers and a high quality connection with another user. If I bring a crap deal to you guys, you just click the decline button and you're like, hey man, this isn't even your deal. It's not under contract. You're not direct to seller, or this is the ARV is just way too low. There's no chance. That all can happen with one click on our platform.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. Yeah. And those would be great metrics to be able to tie to people's accounts too. Like if everyone's like, oh, 80% of the deals this person sends out, they're saying the ARVs are bad. Yeah. Like that'd be a great way to, weed through the, iffy wholesalers pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the key metrics. So like in our new world of trust, I said we're building all these things under the umbrella of trust. We'll have key metrics, kind of like KPIs that you'll be able to assess a person on, where you'll see like, I can see from you guys, okay, I send a deal to you, then you send it out to your buyers and you have 10,000 buyers, but you only have like a 4% open rate on your emails. Okay, well then I might not want to work with you. But then if it's somebody else where I send it out and there's like 4 buyers, but they get an offer every single time, maybe I want to work with those guys instead. So yeah, it's we're in a very privileged position. I won't deny it, to have all of that data. And we want to use it and apply it to our users' benefit, not just hoard it and try to make money off of it.
I really like that too. And I like any time on any platform, anytime a community can police itself. And basically what you're saying is, let's just dumb it down. If you send out crap deals, not only are people going to know it, we're going to help you show them.
Yeah.
Right. That all of your deals suck. And eventually that person, because if the community is not buying their deals, then they're going to self-police and leave the platform. And if they're trying to do something weird, then the data and the KPIs are also going to expose that to the community as a benefit of paying for your membership. And again, we'll self-police the community to try to build a high quality community of investors.
Yeah, totally. Right before we launched this new version of TwnSqr, what we were working on was a platform that aggregates off-market properties for institutional buyers, like the guys that are buying thousands of properties every month. And we had over 1,800 properties being posted to TwnSqr every month under that model across the US. And I was forming relationships with these institutional buyers, the people in the acquisition seats at these huge hedge fund companies. And what they said was, hey, we need a higher quality of property. You're sending too many deals that are just low quality. So we went back to the drawing board and we're starting to build out this more community-centric platform so that everybody, including those giant institutional buyers, has access to really only the highest quality people and the highest quality deals. At the end of the day, there's no benefit to me and there's no benefit to really anybody if there's bad deals on the platform.
Yeah. Sweet. Sure. Yeah, I mean, makes perfect sense. Awesome. I love it. Well, we're running down on time here. So I'd just like to dive into, I guess, your, our final couple of questions here.
Sure.
So one question that I always like to ask, especially since it sounds like you have some good investing experience, is, aside from the one you already told us, what is your craziest real estate investing story? And this can be, anything. It can be off color. It can be a big win. It could be a big loss. Whatever it is, what is your craziest real estate investing story?
Yeah, so that one that we bought for $1 was probably the craziest, but around the same time, the algorithm that I built predicted a sale of another property that my wife and I ended up purchasing. It was a duplex. We ended up renovating and house hacking, and then we ended up selling to our tenants. But as I was going through the whole legal process of buying that first property I talked about for $1, we were communicating over WhatsApp with a guy in Qatar or Qatar, however you say the name
I
of the
never
country.
Qatar, yeah.
Yeah, we were communicating with this guy in Qatar to buy his duplex over WhatsApp. And he had to go to the American embassy in Qatar to use an American notary to sign the final sales agreement. And everything was done over WhatsApp over like 6.5 months. And
Yeah.
like I would stay up real late so that I could be on the same time zone as him. And he would call me at like 3 a.m. And it ended up working out. We bought the place for like 180,000, put a bunch of money into it. It was like one of the first renovations we did. But then we ended up selling it to our tenants for a little over 350,000 and did it off market through TwnSqr. So it was a good win for everybody. But
Nice.
selling the property on WhatsApp
so cool.
was nuts.
That is so cool.
That's funny. And that's eerily similar to a deal we did. We did a deal a couple years ago where we had a seller that was in Japan, and same sort of thing. He had to like go to the embassy and do all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And we ended up buying that property, and we sold that property to the tenants as well.
Oh,
We did
wow.
sell to the tenants. That is very similar.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very weird. It wasn't in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was it?
No, it
was
was
not.
just down
Nope.
the street here. But
Yeah, that's super weird. That's man, that's something.
yeah, that's funny. Cool. So what is next question is, what is the number one tip you would give to an investor who wants to either take their investment to the next level, or I guess start investing, whether that be mindset tip, business tip, the number one thing you would give somebody that wants to start elevating their real estate game?
Yeah, I think we've talked so much about it already. In at my core, what I believe to be successful is partnerships. How do you become successful? Form partnerships. You're never going to learn as fast as you would if you went out and dealt with somebody as your partner and gave them a slice of your deal that knows even 2 times more than you do. In my experience, I've worked with people that are 10, 50, 100 times more experienced than I am. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been able to create TwnSqr or do those crazy deals that we just talked about. So my advice would be go out and form a partnership, provide some value to somebody else that knows so much more than you do. And even if it feels like it sucks at the time while you're working through it, it'll definitely be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think regardless of where you're at, there's tons of value in going and, connecting and building relationships with people who are like where you want to be, and even if you're like top to top, like Jeff Bezos, he is as top as you can get financially, but he has leaders in his life that he pays, to help him get in shape. Like, when all of a sudden he got divorced and came out and was jacked, like he didn't just like figure that out by himself. He went and found the best guy to get him jacked so he could go and, bang Spanish girls that are 30 years younger than him. And that was his goal. But he went and found that dude. So that's fine.
He partnered with some with some men's clinics and some personal trainers, and he's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah,
I was hoping you would say it. I was hoping you'd say it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then finally, Paul, where can people find you, follow along with what you're doing, and if they want to sign up for TwnSqr? I don't know if you have any sort of like special or anything about that, or like a good promo, anything like that you want to plug. That would be a great.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so you can find me. I'm not very active on social media. I've kind of had my head deep in the sand of tech startup world since the middle of 2019. So I don't really use social media too much personally, but you can contact me on LinkedIn, just Paul Wakim. You can find TwnSqr at TwnSqr.com. And if you decide to sign up for an account, you can use the code JOIN, JOIN 25. join 25 to get 25% off. A membership is $149 a month or $1,180 a year. Trying to make sure that we're in a competitive price point for the new investors that have some promise and the guys that don't want to add a whole bunch of overhead to their business in terms of expenses. And then you can find the company on social media, just everywhere at TwnSqr. You can reach out to me via email anytime at paul@TwnSqr.com.
Perfect. And one last question that I realized we didn't cover, but I know people will ask this. Can they use TwnSqr in any market right now? Or is it like market specific?
No,
Cool.
no, any market. And
Nice.
we would love for anybody that has, we should have touched on this real quick, and I'll try to make it fast. We would love for anybody that has even one buyer in their Rolodex that they can sell deals to come to the platform. We don't expect everybody to move all their dispositions to TwnSqr. What we'd love is for people to just come, upload their buyers, and then be available for other users, because we have so many small guys coming on the platform all the time that do have good deals. We want you to come on and do what we call host your buyers list on TwnSqr and make yourself available to those JVs so that you can really just focus on dispositions and have other people bring you deals and do the acquisitions and the marketing expense to get there. So yeah, anybody in any market can come on, schedule a demo call, schedule an onboarding call with my team and I to get set up with hosting your buyers list or moving all your dispositions processes over to TwnSqr. And that's anybody in the country.
Perfect. Awesome. I love it. So you guys heard it. Regardless of where you are location wise, regardless how big your business is, you can definitely benefit from TwnSqr. Paul, thanks so much for hopping on. We really appreciate it. And thanks so much for listening, everybody. Talk to you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.